Here's what happened when a decades-old treasure trove was discovered in a thrift store. Everyone says yes when given an opportunity to opt the best stuff that suits our budget. At times, clothes picked up from thrift shops instantly make it to our wardrobe favorites. Despite the fact that it requires enough time to go through the whole lots of odd pieces and pick the right thing at the right price, we never step back from spending our time in search of anything amazing. After all, this is where most of us improved our bargaining skills. However, on several occasions, few items make you wonder about its sole owner, but very rarely do we see anyone who takes a step ahead rather than just wondering. And so is the story of this woman, who not just took it to the next level, but did a life-enhancing act. Here's all you need to know about this strange yet inspiring story. It all started in 2009 when Sarah Redlick was on a trip to Hillsboro, a town not far from her place in Aloha in Oregon. The concept of cheap and nice is what attracts us to these stores, and usually we get enough free time to explore and shop when on outings. Just like the rest of us, the idea of a thrift store nearby sounded like a fun thing to Sarah, and hence her excitement led to her local Goodwill at Hillsboro to get herself a few efficient picks. She had no clue about how this store was going to grant her an extremely beautiful experience. Most of the times we ignore the great things that await our attention to happen. A similar great thing waited Sarah in that store that day. While Sarah was on her hunt for the best and most suitable stuff in the store, what she found was less of a product to be sold and more of someone's personal belongings, which ideally weren't supposed to be there in the first place. Sarah knew how much they can mean to the person whom they belonged to, so not having a second thought, she wanted to get them in the right hands, though she was less aware of the difficulties she was about to face in return for an act of kindness. These are somebody's memories. They are part of their life and history. As soon as Sarah realized how big a deal they might be for their owner, Sarah tried to get help from the staff members. She immediately informed the staff how mistakenly something personal that should not be on display for everyone was actually kept for sale. While she got the least help from the staff, Sarah insisted on making an effort but got disappointed. Later, she expressed herself, "They mean a lot of somebody. They mean a lot to me and they're not even mine." After sensing that no one was bothered by the situation or willing to help in locating the address of the owner, Sarah knew that she didn't want them to be at the shop. Hence, she took them back to her place, taking the responsibility. Later, she expressed her emotions at that very moment in an interview with a Washington newspaper, The Columbian. "I grabbed them all. I thought, I need to find the rightful owner. If nobody else is going to do anything about it, I am." Sadly, it was about to turn out to be a long pause before the possibility of the item could ever be received by the right person. "It's crazy. I've had these for 6 years," she said with disbelief. Though Sarah was very concerned about getting the possessions to their rightful owner, she didn't know how the reason she was being kept in a box and forgot about them soon. So it was going to take a longer time for the right person to get their precious items back. As time passed, Sarah forgot about them completely and got along with her life. In the coming years, she moved from Aloha to different places and finally ended up settling down in Salmon Creek, Washington. Years later, Sarah didn't remember about the box she kept the belongings in, until one day when she was going through her stuff, settling things in the right place after moving to Salmon Creek. She once again got the item she found at the thrift store. Sarah knew it's been long enough that the owner is unaware, so this time she had a plan as she intended to get these belongings to the owner anyhow. About her next step, Sarah said, "I was hoping for at least one person to care about who this person was, but I had all of Vancouver helping me." And she spread word through social media along her friends and further. Hoping to get the owner of her thrift store's find, Sarah took pictures of the item and posted it on a Facebook group, Vancouver Area Free Market. Though it seemed almost impossible at first, it wasn't for long. It took less than a day and she heard from the owner. Sarah got a response and there she was. Sarah found the lady she needed to hand over the belongings to. Rose Hill lived in Hillsboro for years without even being aware that she was being searched for by Sarah to return what originally belonged to her. Until Sarah posted the information on Facebook and Rose's son viewed it, who called his mom and said, "Mom, you're all over social media." Stunned Rose replied, "No, I'm not." She later explained her emotions at that moment as, "It was really surreal." The info came as a surprise to Rose at once, and later she realized how much these mattered to her. After being unknown to what she was really missing on, she wanted to get her thing back soon. "I'm so excited to meet her, I'm shaking," Redlick said. I think that's great, and if these can help her in any way, I think that's fantastic." When her efforts of generosity paid off, it made Sarah feel wonderful that finally she'll be able to give her thrift store find to the right person. "I didn't even know we had those," as the 64-year-old suffered through memory loss for around a year. She further talked about how the loss of memory that affected her. "It seems like a lot of my life is gone and I can't find it. I was rooting for them to find brain lesions or a brain tumor. I wanted to know what was causing this because if you know what's causing it, maybe you can fix it or make it better or make it hurt not so bad." Sarah knew these were more than just unusual, however. She never thought that this might be a reason for so much happiness to Rose, as it helped in giving her a detailed picture of her love life. Sarah's active thinking personally about others resulted in lots of happiness. Without any delay, Sarah instantly called Rose and they talked over the phone, but Rose didn't intend to meet right away. Sarah wrapped them to surprise her and waited for the 9th of January to see Rose. And the result was a whole shock of history and old day memories that were forgotten with time. She wished to wait for a special day, but why? Going through her belongings, Rose remembered when she met Joe while picking strawberries from the farm. Rose and Joe had known each other since childhood. Later, as they grew up, Joe joined the army and was sent to Vietnam. They always shared a sweet, understanding friendship. In 1972, when he came back on Christmas break, Joe borrowed Rose's car and she never thought twice before letting him take the car as they became good friends by the time. All she requested for her was to drop her at the office and later home. Unaware that this might be a start of their journey together. So what was actually hidden in the wrapper Sarah brought with herself that day? Joe agreed to drop Rose and this brought an amazing turn to their relationship when they had their first kiss while on their way to Rose's workplace. The rides gave them quality time to spend together, and as a result they came close enough to take the big step called marriage. The couple decided to get married and eloped to Reno, Nevada. It was the beginning of a new phase in their lives. However, the couple was unaware of the coming twist. A few days after their big day, Joe was called off from his holidays to the Vietnam War, resulting in the couple's partition. 3 days later, he was back in Japan and I was still in my apartment. There was nothing except a guitar. There was no Joe anywhere in my house. When they met on the planned date, Rose unwrapped the package. She couldn't believe her eyes for a while. An emotional moment for sure, as in front of her was a pile of old envelopes waiting to be read. These were written during the Vietnam War by her ex-husband Joe Hill. During the 1970s, when Joe served in the army, that's when he wrote all these letters to his beloved Rose. The letters were worth finding for Rose as they had beautiful memories hidden inside words. They married 42 years ago on the same date. The letters were from the early months of their marriage. They were a flashback of every moment they shared and meant more than just words to Rose. Distances led Joe to write his affection for her, which the letters were all about. Reading those letters was a journey down to those beautiful days for her. Words of love written by the man she once loved made her emotional that she couldn't stop her tears from flowing. Well, I think we can kind of surmise. Early marriage, love letters. In one of the letters Joe penned, "I love you, Rose. That may sound like an ending rather than a beginning, but let me assure you it's only the start of the beginning, only the start of my feelings for you. Love is the only word capable of coming close to the description of my feelings for you." Very intensely, Joe expressed his thoughts for Rose and could remember how special and blessed he made her feel with those letters. Makes a lot more sense now why these letters were more than just a piece of paper for her, as those were the expression of their young love. Who doesn't like it when someone makes you feel so special, or assures you of their love for their actions? And what if that someone is the one you love? Besides expressing his love, Joe assured his beloved that his love would remain the same for her even after his return for the war. As inadequate as words seem, I am forced to use them for now. The time will come, though, when I can show you just how much you mean to me. When that day comes, I will be the happiest man alive. Clearly, their love stood strong against the test of time, in spite of being far from each other. Not every story is happily ever after, and so it was with Rose and Joe. Unfortunately, the two were separated after 40 years of staying together. The letters proved to be a glimpse into a memorable past life of hers. Undoubtedly, Rose stored these letters close to her heart. With a marriage that long and it doesn't work, you carry a lot of guilt and shame. Surely, it's no less than a blessing for people experiencing memory loss. You can feel the immense excitement that Rose felt when she said, "I remember." You smell the smells, you hear the sounds, you feel like you're back in time and place. The letters were unexpected, yet a huge gift to Rose. Rose isn't tired of appreciating Sarah's thoughtfulness. Delighted to see how one person's little attempt can fill another one's life with goodness, Rose said, "She rescued them and she's kept them for 5-6 years. Yeah, she's amazing." Rose gifted Sarah with her vintage jewelry that she was wearing when the two met. "I wanted to wear it so that it'll carry with it some of my soul. I wanted it to be something meaningful. She cared for these. She cared for us," Rose explains. They both indeed became friends instantly and plan to see each other from time to time. "I get to give her memories back," said an overwhelmed Sarah. "January 9 has a whole meaning for me now," says Rose Hill. "A new chapter, a fresh start." Above all, the fact that Sarah kept the letters for a few years and gave them to Rose at the time she hardly remembered what happened turned out to be an excellent coincidence. At times, the smallest act of kindness can matter the most to someone.